Welcome to Hip Hop Movie Club, the show that harmonizes the rhythm of hip hop with the magic of movies. Today we're discussing House Party 2. We are three old heads who put their old heads together to vibe on these films for you. I'm Dino Wright, podcaster, filmmaker, longtime hip hop fan. It'll cost more than Lee Majors to fix MCs after I kicks my flavor.
I'm JB, 80s and 90s nostalgia junkie, longtime hip hop fan. And I've got more rhymes than I've got gray hairs. And that's a lot because I've got my share.
I'm Boogie, a DJ, longtime hip hop fan. And I remember seeing this movie on a date while I was in high school.
In this episode, we'll answer the question, is House Party 2 as good as the original House Party? And we'll give you 5 key takeaways to make you a smarter hip hop movie fan.
All right, House Party 2. Kid is now in college, backed by a scholarship provided by his community, which is rallied around him following the untimely death of Pops. Play prioritizes his rap career, misappropriates kid's money. Kid navigates his financial woes and relationship with Sydney while trying to make Pops and his community proud. The potential solution? Why, a Pajama Jammie Jam, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Why not?
That's
always the answer. It's
always the answer.
It's always the answer.
Here are 5 things you need to know about House Party 2. This sequel doesn't reach the bar set by the original, but it did give us the Pajama Jammie Jam. The absence of John Witherspoon and the late Robin Harris, other than for flashbacks, leave a huge void in this film. Number 3, Queen Latifah brings a conscious element and shows off her rapping chops as Zora. Kid plays dancing and rapping are on display yet again, but we were left wanting more. And number 5, the movie soundtrack features some great old school classics, many of which aren't on the soundtrack album.
All right, so House Party 2. Boogie, why don't you kick us off? The first takeaway we mentioned, Dino Ray just mentioned, the sequel doesn't quite reach the bar set by the original, but we do get the Pajama Jammie Jam. What's your overall take on House Party 2 and how it compares to the original?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't hold up to the original. I mean, the original is a classic. It gives so many lines and that I remember off the top of my head that I repeat in just everyday life, and the scenes were just so memorable. So this one definitely doesn't hold up to the original, but we do get the Pajama Jammie Jam.
Life's answer to everything.
Absolutely, and it was actually it was an answer to our plans at Ryder as well, because I was throw Pajama Jammie Jams in the Porter apartment.
I remember.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Tony Whalen.
Absolutely.
He was the brainchild behind some of those.
He was a big fan of the Pajama Jammie Jam.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Yep. I was the one that gave him that term. I said, "Yeah, we have pajamas." Like, yeah, we could call it Pajama Jammie Jam. That was my idea.
Man.
Back to the movie though. Yeah. So the Pajama Jammie Jam was interesting and entertaining for some parts. We did get to see some cameo performances, some dancing, and a couple chase scenes throughout that part. But there were some parts of the movie that I actually did enjoy. It gave us some good moments. So there were a couple of characters in the movie that I actually thought they gave me some redeeming qualities. One was Professor Sinclair, who was played by George Stanford Brown, and Mr. Lee's character, who was played by Tony Burton. Just talk a little bit about them real quick, because these two characters really touched me in the movie. So trying to fill that void that was left without Pops or John Witherspoon's character, so we had some positivity in the movie. Professor Sinclair actually reminds me a lot of my father in his mannerisms, so that was the first thing I noticed. But he was tough on Kid, and he wanted him to realize his full potential and not sell himself short. I also loved that he was supportive of the knowledge is power rally, and even spoke at that as well. Like, shows that he cared about the students and enhancing their education. When he found out that at the end of the movie, we found out that there was still a financial gap left with kids' funding, he offered to give him a job as a student assistant, to try to help him out. And also the statement that he made to Kid regarding, he said, when Kid said he would come back to school, So yeah, there's a lot of brothers and sisters that say they're going to return, but they never do. And that always hits me hard because I know a few people that, went to school at Ryder that had a similar situation and they never returned. So that part always hits me. But to go to Mr. Lee's character, he's the character that runs the cafeteria like a branch of the military. And he even sports a few medals on his jacket. He's also tough, but also challenges kids to reach his full potential as well. And he comes across as like a father figure type. And he was visibly hurt when he had dismissed kid from working in the cafeteria because he was no longer a student. Like after he was really tough, he was like, you're no longer a student. And he took his pen and kid walked away. You can see the sigh on his face like, oh man, I'm about to lose another one. And that showed that he actually cared for the workers, even though he was tough with them. He's like, he was trying to get them to prepare for the real world. So I do appreciate that a lot. And even after, he found out that kid had the party, he was still mad, but at the same time, you could still see that he cared about him. So those two characters struck me, despite the shortcomings, comparing this one to the other one. There were some funny moments that I liked also that kind of tagged in from the other movie, like the broken toilet joke.
Yeah.
You see that carry on.
Recurring.
And Pee-wee, wanting to shake his ass while looking for the party. That, little funny things like that. You see, a chill cameo dancing. He bumps the table while Bilal is playing. And that goofy chase scene on the roof. It's so goofy, but I enjoyed it. And also the little knowledge nugget that Bilal left to play, because he was always trying to borrow money for records and get a discount. And when one time Bilal paid $50, when his bill was much shorter than that, and then he left and said, sometimes you have to pay what you owe. And we see that theme come around towards the end of the movie, not to give up too much of it away. And the final thing that I liked about the movie was the Omega Kappa Tau fraternity that was kind of doing their little step routine at the end credits. But, there was like those little things that I really enjoyed. But yeah, like I said, it doesn't quite hold up to the original.
Yeah, great breakdown. There are some really great moments in those father figures and teaching moments. But again, to the point, it didn't have those memorable lines and it that you would repeat over and over again.
Yeah.
Other cameo, Helen Martin. We have the legendary Helen Martin.
Yes.
Okay.
She was commanding the Full Force brothers. Was she? I apologize. Was she her mother or just like?
I think she was a grandmother.
But yeah, she was ordering them around. It's always great to see her in some of these movies from the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just love the fashion again because it's set in the 90s. You see the fashion, and if you remember, there was posters of like MC Hammer, Eric B. and Rakim, and Another Bad Creation. I just love taking that trip down memory lane, going back to watch this one. Dynamite, you have any reflections on comparing this one to the original?
Yeah, sequels are always hard, and no, it doesn't match the original, but I still wound up enjoying the film, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, there's a balance between doing fan service, like things like the broken toilet and Chill bumping the table, and then there's like not doing anything original to push the thing forward. But like you said, Boogie, there's some characters that were really good to watch, like Professor Sinclair and like Mr. Lee, and so we'll talk about this in the next takeaway. But it's hard to replace Robin Harris with even these two guys who were big time on their own. But yeah, the movie it's different, not as good, but it's different.
Yeah.
So that was a great lead into the next takeaway was the absence of John Witherspoon and late Robin Harris. Other than the little flashbacks they had of Robin Harris, like in the picture frame, speaking to Kid, they left a huge void in this film. It was palpable. I mean, after we watched the first one and my family had watched it, they came to the screening that we had, and almost everyone to a person was like, those two were hysterical. Like, they didn't realize how funny they were because they weren't familiar with all of their works. And so rest in peace to both of them, pure legends. And again, it's hard to replicate. I mean, they brought in Whoopi Goldberg as in the dream sequence, as like a haunting spirit at the beginning and at the end. But I think they kind of left some of her talents on the table as well. So I guess they tried to kind of fill the void, but it didn't really work for me, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, a little more Whoopi. Like, had she been not in the dream sequences, but actually been like an actual professor that he took, courses that he was taking, and we can see her, roll off a little, some little wisecracks in the classroom or something like that. I think it would have been a little more impactful. But yeah, definitely still couldn't fill that void, but it would have been a little more leaning towards some of the comedic one-liners that we got from Robin Harrison and John Witherspoon. Because Whoopi's, she's funny. She's funny. Mm-hmm. So it would have definitely been, I feel like she was a little underutilized.
Yeah. I mean, she was uncredited too.
Yeah. So maybe she just happened to be at the studio around the time and say, hey, come over here and do this.
Right. Somebody pulled a favor.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah. Somebody pulled a favor. Hey, while you're here, you mind?
The other part about this void is that the consequences in the original film about a kid sneaking out of the house, that was weighing in the back of everyone's mind. Like, he's going to get a whooping when he gets home.
Yeah.
But the consequences in this are different for kid. Like, he's not going to get corporal punishment, but he's going to get kicked out of school and, his money got stolen. And so that hits differently than having Robin Harris, who's really funny, about to whoop his ass.
Yeah.
And so it's different. And even two actors like George Stanford Brown and Tony Burton, who I really remember as the corner man in Rocky.
Yes, don't want to tell.
And so it's hard to replace Robin Harris with even those two guys. And more than that, the Dean Kramer and all these other people that hold kids' fate in their hands. It's just hard to replace both the comedic part and the consequences part. Yeah. He's got out of school he has to go back home, but it's just different.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't want to let his community down. He didn't want to let his late father down. But
it's not funny though. The asshole thing is kind of funny. It's not
exactly
funny, but it's kind of funny when Robin Harris is doing it because you get something funny coming out of it.
Those one-liners are some of the most quotable parts of the original House Party, like public enema. Follow the drip.
Absolutely.
All these kind of things. That's what sticks in your head. Just like in Friday, it's bye Felicia. It's like a memorable, repeatable phrase that lives on. And we didn't really get that in this film. So that's
right.
It's too hard to replace for sure. Next takeaway, we didn't mention quite yet, Queen Latifah. She comes on the scene, brings a conscious element, shows off her rapping chops as Zora. Yeah. Got to turn to you, Boogie, because you are Queen Latifah's #1 fan, and tell us about how she shined or shone in this movie.
So for everybody who's been a constant listener, I'm such a fan of Queen Latifah from the same hometown. For those who don't know, now you know. But her portrayal as Zora, it was so on brand with her image at that time. She was strong and positive, and she provided a good balance to the party happy character of Sydney, who from the first original movie wasn't a party. She was a good balance, and she also provided sort of a mentorship as an older student who was her roommate. She also is good at keeping a sex crazed kid in check, because kid was ready to say, hey, we're in school now. Hey, I can come over anytime, any place. And Zora's like, no, not having it. Nope. And I do like the scene of the Knowledge is Power rally that they had, which I mentioned earlier regarding Professor Sinclair, which was a rally to protest the cutting the funds for ethnic studies. And in that scene, we see her sport a signature headpiece on her head. And it's oh, there we go. That's the queen I'm talking about. And in that scene, she kicks around called Knowledge is Power, which, basically shows her conscious rap skills on display there. And throughout the movie, she also tries to keep Miles at bay as well when she realizes that Sydney starts to like him. And she kind of brings Sid back down to earth by proposing a question to Sid that, maybe she needs to think about what she really wants out of life and in her relation to Kid, and that even though Miles is a different person than Kid, maybe he's not better. She wants her to find her own identity. I do like how she proposed that to Sydney when they were getting ready to go to the Pajama Jammie Jam, and you see Sydney kind of dressed like her, and she's like, who are you going to the party as? She's like, you should, I'm going as Zora, I hope to see Sydney there. Like, you don't have to be me to be a strong person. You could be your own individual self and represent yourself the way you want and still get the respect that you want out of everyone. That was good to see on screen as well.
Your Knowledge is Power was a dope track. I was digging that song.
Yeah.
And Miles was whack, man. He looked like he was plastic or something. I was like, what's up with this guy?
Yeah, his makeup top was really weird. It
was really weird.
Like intentionally plastic, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's kind of wild. Yeah. Any more comments about the Queen? Yeah, she shines like usual.
All hail the Queen.
That's right. All hail the Queen indeed. The Kid and Play in this movie, they also dance and rap. So their dancing and rapping skills are on display, but we were left wanting a little bit more. Wasn't that longer, elaborate dance scene or rap battle that we get in the first movie?
I was really disappointed. These are the stars of your movie. Let them let it fly. But they spent more time on Sydney, and I was just confused about that. But I think thematically, Kid was distracted because he was trying to keep tabs on Sydney, and so he couldn't really let fly with the dance routine. And I don't know, maybe they didn't spend all their time together, so it's who knows how well they could pull it off right then. But I was like, oh, this is the time where they really rally everybody and they do this great dance routine, but you don't get that payoff.
Yeah, that battle in the original it's such a classic scene. Like, everyone who's watched House Party knows that scene. Like, I've watched that movie so many times, and I've watched not even just that movie, but that scene in particular so many times that I'm almost dancing along with them as they're doing it because it's such an iconic scene. And like, I wanted that in this one, but yeah, you get like, and even like the way the camera angles are moving around, like it's overhead, then it's low, then it's overhead and to the side. It's like, just keep it in one spot and just let them do their thing. And then like I wanted to see it like really like drawn out like some signature moves. There was a lot of, they were bopping to the music, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah, it's like they didn't try to top the first one.
Right.
I mean, it is so iconic, and you can't. How could you top it? But you didn't even try.
Right. At least try to top it. Right. At least try to top it.
Do something. I mean, in Breaking 2, it just got silly. But in this, they could have topped it. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was left one.
Maybe. I agree. Maybe Play could have actually executed the jump over his own leg that he had fallen in the living room. In this one, he perfected it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, man.
See, there you go.
They did that. Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody was a good choice for the track. They pulled it off, but like you just said, Donna, right? Like, Kid was distracted, so he was very tentative up there, and he was not really into it, and it kind of took away from the performance. Yeah, I mean, they left some meat on the bone. Next takeaway, his final takeaway, the movie soundtrack. Speaking of the music. It features some great old school classics, but many of which aren't on the actual soundtrack album. So, I mean, talk about a few of them that were on there in the movie, I should say, that don't really appear on the soundtrack, like Chub Rock's Treat 'Em Right, OPP by Naughty by Nature. Those two are huge hits from that era, and they didn't appear on the actual soundtrack. And then Boyz II Men's Motown Philly was played during the one chase scene, and I always enjoy hearing that one.
Yeah. Yeah, even one of my favorite songs of all time appears in this movie. Optimistic by Sounds of Blackness. Like, I absolutely love that song. Like, I play it a lot. It's in some of my mixes that I've made, and it's in the movie, but yeah, it's not on the soundtrack. And that was back then it was a huge hit. And I think a lot of people, still play it now and like it now. But yeah, I mean, there were some hits on the soundtrack, a few, but like the House Party 2 ain't gonna hurt nobody. I Don't Know What You Come to Do by Tony. Interesting fact about that song. That part, that's actually from a gospel song. That I don't know what you come to do. I came to stop my hand. I came to stop my. That's from a gospel song. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's definitely from a gospel song, and I recognize it as soon as I heard it. I'm like, these cats remixed the gospel song. But no, it's a great song though, and I love the fact that we actually do get to see the cameo of Tony in the movie singing that. We mentioned it Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody and Yo Baby Yo by Ralph Tresvant. He had a great solo run from New Edition, being a New Edition frontman, and we get to see a cameo of him in the movie as well. Then the other ones, the I Lust for You by London Jones. I mean, I've heard the song before, but I don't hear that song like the others. That was doing a slow dance scene, but the Ladies' Choice slow dance scene. But the one song that did resonate with me though is It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday, performed by the Flex. Classic song. Yeah, classic song. The first time I heard that song was in Cooley High, the movie Cooley High, which, interesting enough, is from before I was even born, 1975. And I've watched that movie so many times as well. And that song was performed by J.C. Cameron. Interesting enough, Boyz II Men recorded the song as well on their Cooley High Harmony album, released in 1991.
So I admit to the audience here, I thought that was an original Boyz II Men song, but I did know that the name of the album was Cooley High Harmony, which was an amazing album. Yeah. I never put two and two together or recalled that specific song from Cooley High. So great knowledge there, Boogie, as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some other well-known artists on the album. Belle Biv DeVoe, who was Ralph Tresvant's former bandmates from New Edition. Bubba, Shantae Moore, Eric B. and Rakim. Great classic hip-hop duo, Keith Washington, Rex and Effects. And also, this was the final recording from the rapper MC Trouble. Her song that was released on, and this was her final recording. She tragically, rest in peace, she passed away from an epileptic seizure several months before the soundtrack was released. So, rest in peace to her as well. But yeah, it seems like some of the really good songs weren't even on the soundtrack release.
So another name in this movie, the character of Jamal, played by a young guy named Cameron, who was like the front man from the Young Black Teenagers. It's always been a funny title because, he's a white guy heading up the Young Black Teenagers group. Well, you remember their most memorable hit was Tap the Bottle? That was a club jam. Like, tap the bottle and twist the cap. I had to look that one up. That was not featured in this movie, but Jamal or Cameron from that group, he does get to do a short rap within the house party or the Jammie Jam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scene also. Yep.
It's funny. I remember the first time I saw the movie, I was like, wait a minute, I know that guy. It's like, wait a minute, I know him. And I was like, I wonder if they're going to let him rap. And then he did. But I'm like, his rap, you didn't. It's like the audio when the mic was too low.
Yeah, I heard that. I saw the same thing. I'm like, they turned him down. It didn't come out too clearly. Yeah, I just wanted to mention him as well. So I think we covered most of all the takeaways. Anybody have any other tidbits to share about House Party 2 with the listeners?
Oh, I did notice one thing. Did you notice the name of the school?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I did see. The dorm. Was the dorm called Trump or something? The school was Harris.
Harris University.
Yeah.
So Harris was university, right?
And then funny. Trump Hall.
Yeah, it was funny
Trump
because
Holiday.
I saw two versions of the university name.
Oh.
Like when he was in a bookstore, I saw Harris University Bookstore. But when he was talking to Dean, was it Dean Kramer?
Kramer, yeah.
His seal on his desk said Harrison University.
Harrison. Yeah. That's like a
Beauty
little Easter egg.
like
So you think they probably did that as a tribute to Robin Harris?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at one point they put
I
Harris in
would
at some
think.
point.
They definitely.
Yeah.
I think they definitely did. But it was
Yeah.
like, which one is it? Is it Harris University or Harrison University?
Yeah. And I did see the dorm was called Trump in the beginning too.
Trump dorm.
Yeah.
Yep. That was an interesting tidbit there. Yeah, and our brothers from Full Force, again, they were the enforcers. You know, they end up being campus security, and they're fit into a little golf cart, and you know, still funny antics along the lines of like a Three Stooges.
Yeah.
With the movie and the dream sequence, they were the deans of discipline.
Deans of
That's what
discipline.
Goldberg calls them, right?
Yeah.
So they still play the heavies, comic relief.
I did like the one scene though when Play had the help wanted sign at the record shop and the grandmother brought them in to apply for the position and dropped the rap. It was like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that part was funny. I don't know what the heck he was saying. I still laugh at that part.
That was good.
Those guys are good.
All right. So I think that's a wrap for House Party 2. Let's give our ratings then. Let's go around the room and rate this in terms of bring that funky flick back.
Bring that funky flick back.
Or leave it in the vault. Boogie, House Party 2. Bring that funky flick back or leave it in the vault.
Yeah, despite the fact that it doesn't hold up to the original, I definitely bring that funky flick back. I watch it a lot. It's still funny to me, but even though it doesn't compare to the original, it's still definitely a decent watch.
Yep. Dino, right?
I agree. I don't think it measures up to the original, but it's still worth watching. So I will bring this funky flick back.
I am of the same vein. I will bring this funky flick back despite its flaws.
Yeah. I'll even tolerate House Party 3, but after that,
out. No mas. That's good. Hip Hop Movie Club is produced by your HHMCs, JB, Boogie, and Dino Wright. Theme music by Boogie. We have a couple more live events coming up, and you can learn more on our website, hiphopmovieclub.com. On September 19th at SteelStacks in Bethlehem, we're presenting a screening of 8 Mile, with a special interview with hip-hop pioneer Craig G. Tickets available at steelstacks.org. Whether you're listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in.
Remember, don't hate, pulsate.
Look.